Many of us take the sun and its light for granted, not realizing how important it is for our daily lives. But have you ever thought about what would happen if you spent an entire year in a dark cave, away from any source of light? We will investigate how humans might adjust or change in such an environment, and whether it's possible to reacclimate to the outside world after such an experience. Whether you're a longtime follower or new to our channel, this exploration will shine a light on the remarkable adaptability of life in the absence of light. Is it possible to live in a cave? Can humans really make a home inside the earth, away from the sunlight and open air? Just like plants need water to grow, humans need it to survive. Finding a clean water source inside a cave would be essential. Without water, living in a cave would be very short-lived. We need to talk about air. Fresh air is needed for our health. Caves can have stale or even harmful air if they're not well ventilated. So, a cave suitable for living needs to have good airflow to bring in fresh air and take out the old. Food is another big factor. Without sunlight, growing food inside a cave is tricky. People would need to bring food in or find ways around it while inside the cave. They might decide to eat animals in the cave like mice, bats, insects, and so on. Then there's the matter of light. Our bodies rely on natural light to know when to wake up and when to sleep. In the dark, our sense of time can get confused. Caves can be cramped and damp. For a human to live in a cave, there needs to be enough room to move around and stay dry. Being cramped up in a small, wet space is uncomfortable and can also lead to health problems. Caves can be home to wild animals or have unstable rocks. Making sure the cave is safe from these dangers is a must for anyone thinking about living there. Humans are social creatures. We need company and interaction. Living in a cave, away from others, could lead to feeling lonely or cut off. Finding ways to stay connected with the outside world would be key to keeping spirits up. So, is living in a cave possible? With the right conditions, it might just be. Animals that survive in the dark. Cave animals live in places where it's always dark, so they don't need eyes or colorful skins to see or hide from danger. Over a long time, many of these animals have changed. They no longer have eyes, and their bodies have become white or see-through. They've found new ways to get around in the dark without bumping into things. Some cave bugs and spiders have super long feelers, which they use to find their way. They also feel tiny shakes in the ground or little breezes that tell them if there's food or a threat nearby. Bats are amazing flyers in the dark. They shout and listen to the echoes bouncing back to figure out where things are, like a natural sonar. There are even fish in some warm caves that send out tiny electric signals. This helps them see in the water by feeling what's around them, like food or things to avoid. But what do these cave critters eat? Since there are no plants in caves, because plants need sunlight, food has to come from somewhere else. Leaves, bits of wood, and even insects might fall or get washed into caves. Some cave hunters, like certain spiders and little lizard-like animals, wait for this outside food. But there are also cave dwellers that eat bat droppings. Some caves have lots of bats, and their droppings pile up. This might not sound tasty to us, but for some cave animals, it's a feast. Because food in caves isn't easy to find, cave animals are good at going without food for a long time. They don't move much and keep their energy use really low. People have been curious about caves for a very long time. We used to live in them and even made art on their walls. Now scientists study cave animals to learn about how they live and change over time. Some cave animals used to have eyes, but now they don't. This shows us how living things can change to fit their homes better, even if it means losing something like sight. People that lived in caves and survived. First, we have some people in Panga Yasaidi Cave. The Panga Yasaidi Cave in Kenya's Rift Valley is an incredible place. It's been home to people for 78,000 years. Scientists studying the cave have found all sorts of things. This cave is in a special spot where different types of land meet, like grasslands and forests. This meant the people living there could use resources to survive. A long time ago, people used big stone tools, but then something happened. About 67,000 years ago, the tools started to get smaller. Even later, people mixed old and new ways of making things. The cave also tells us about the fashion of the past. The oldest jewelry was found there. Over time, the styles changed from beads made from shells to beads made from ostrich shells, and then back to seashells. Despite being close to the sea, the people of Panga ya Saidi didn't rely much on seafood. They got most of what they needed from the cave woman. Beatrice Flamini took on a unique challenge by living deep inside a Spanish cave, 230 feet below the surface, all by herself for 500 days. When it was time to leave, she was surprised and a bit reluctant. She hadn't even finished the book she was reading. During her time underground, she managed to read about 60 books, staying busy and keeping her mind engaged. Flamini's stay in the cave was not a personal adventure. It was closely watched by experts. Psychologists and cave study specialists were keen to see how she would cope, both physically and mentally, in such extreme isolation. Despite the challenges, Flamini never thought about cutting her stay short. She found peace and contentment in her solitude. Starting her journey in November 2021, Flamini cut off all contact with the outside world. Her daily life consisted of simple pleasures and routines. Time began to blur for Flamini after a while. She stopped counting the days, guessing she'd been underground for only a fraction of her actual stay when her team came to retrieve her. Living in a cave for such a long period brought its own set of challenges, including an invasion of flies and auditory hallucinations, which Flamini describes as the brain's way of filling the silence. There was a technical glitch, too, with the equipment that connected her to the outside world. A router failure meant she had to spend a short time in a tent while it was fixed. Body changes. After long-term stay in the dark, spending a year in a dark cave would bring about some big changes in a person's body. Living without sunlight and the usual day-to-day activities would affect many parts of the body. In the dark, the eyes try to adjust to seeing better. This is why when you first turn off the lights, everything seems dark. But after a while, you can start to make things out. Our skin uses sunlight to make vitamin D, which is important for keeping our bones healthy. Without sunlight, a person might not get enough vitamin D, which could lead to weak bones or other health problems. Being in a cave could also change how a person sleeps. Without the sun to tell the body when it's day and when it's night, the sleep cycle could get all mixed up. This could lead to feeling tired during the day and wide awake at night, or having a hard time knowing when to sleep at all. Muscles might also get weaker from not moving around as much. In a cave, there might not be a lot of room to walk or exercise, which means the muscles don't get used as much. Can humans redapt to light after a long stay in the dark? The good news is that our eyes can learn to handle the light again. It might take some time, but slowly our eyes will remember how to deal with bright places. We might start by going into soft light and then slowly moving to brighter areas. This helps our eyes get used to the light step by step. There's also the part about how we feel. Being in the dark for a long time can make us feel lonely or sad because we're not around other people or doing our normal things. So, can humans get used to the light again after being in the dark? Yes, they can. It might take some time and a bit of care, but we can adjust back to life in the light. Have you ever been in the dark for a long time before? What was your experience like? Let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe.